Thank you for staying with Saturday Night Live. We now bring you the story of a rhino that has lived in darkness all his life. He knows every corner, every nook and every cranny in the little corner of the national park that is his home, so that it is easy to forget that Maxwell the rhino is blind. But Maxwell has never seen his surroundings. He's genetically blind and was rescued from the national park when his mother rejected him. KTN's Wilkie Sanyabwa spent a morning with Maxwell the blind rhino and brings us his tale.
Sign warns visitors against intruding into Maxwell's enclosure and taking liberties with him. Here in this enclosure, Maxwell the rhino is king. He knows every corner and finds his way around easily. From the watering hole, to the mud bath, to the feeding trough. Pacing from one to the other with such certainty of their location, it may not seem like an impressive feat until one learns that Maxwell is blind. Kenya Wildlife Service rangers found the rhino wandering around in the Nairobi National Park 8 years ago. He was just 3 months old.
And he was found alone, but the rangers knew where the mother was and reintroduced him to the mother. But came the next day, he was found alone again. Then they reintroduced him to the mother. Then came the next day, he was found alone. For the third time, when they found him alone, we were conducted to find out what was happening.
His mother had abandoned Maxwell, and it now fell to KWS rangers to rescue him and take him to the David Sheldrick Wildlife Center that sits on a corner of the park.
On the process of rescuing him, we discovered that he was knocking himself in the bushes. He didn't know where to go. He didn't see where to go. And so that's how we realized he was blind.
A team of veterinary doctors examined Maxwell and drew the conclusion that cataracts in his eyes had caused the blindness. They carried out an operation, but it did not have the desired effect. Maxwell remained blind. Just before a second operation, a South African veterinary doctor offered a different opinion.
Just before the operation, just with the use of the ultrasound machine, he proved that this rhino is genetically blind. He can't see, no operation can fix him, and nothing can be done.
Rhinos generally have poor sight and mostly rely on their hearing. Maxwell isn't the only blind rhino in the country. This year, a blind rhino, Nikki, was born in the Lewa Conservancy. Nikki's blindness is, however, attributed to cataracts. Their blindness makes them easy targets for poachers, but the fact that they are territorial creatures means they cannot survive out in the wild.
So we could not release him back into the world because they are territorial and he needs to fight for his territory. And since he can't see, if you release him, the other boys will fight him to death.
It is also unlikely that Maxwell will ever mate with another rhino.
Before they met, the bull and the female have to fight, and the bull has to win. If the bull doesn't win, then there's no mating. So they all go different ways. So he's not lonely being alone because they're naturally solitary animals.
Maxwell's enclosure shall soon be expanded to meet his changing needs as he grows older. Rhinos are expected to live for 35 to 40 years, and as the changes occur, so Maxwell will have to learn the new layout of his home over and over again.
Just as a blind person in his own house, he knows these things slowly by slowly, walking around, encountering them, and finding them there every now and then, and maybe memorizing the distance from one area to another where the other things are.
Maxwell knows every corner of this enclosure. It is his kingdom, and he has lived here for 8 years already. Given that he is blind and cannot be turned out into the wild, he will be spending the rest of his life here. Wilkie Sanyabwa, KTN, at David Sheldrick's Wildlife Trust in Nairobi.